Okay guys, I'm gonna start with the double exposure. First I brought in two pictures, one of my model and one of a background. I'm gonna select the pen tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, down on the right column of my tools panel. And I select that, and I'm just going to go around my model and select her. Last time, I think when I showed it in class, I went around that hair. I think I'm going to stay away from that this time. So I'm going to zoom in and start with my pen tool. I'm dragging and turning when I need to get those curves around my subject, right? And if I make a mistake, I can just press the delete button and go back one and start over. I swoop and I line up that with that. It takes a little practice to use this tool. Go back one if I mess up. See how I'm messing up on that one. So I'm going to Alt Z, or I think it's Control Z on your. So it's that handle here on this one that I don't like. Oh, it's giving me trouble right there. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make this so much shorter. I'm going to go back. There we go. Okay. And turn that. Working my way around this head and pulling when I need to. And coming in there, around there. I'm going to leave off a little bit of those strands that I see sticking out from her hair. And I'll come out for that one and that one. I'm going to start working my way in here. I'm going to forget about this soft blur that I had. And let me zoom out for a second. And I'm coming down there. And I'm coming off the grid. And I'm going to go find my starting point. And there I go. I got a selection. I just go put my cursor inside of that selection, right click, and say make selection. I feather it about 5 pixels. Say OK. I'm going to come over to my layer and I'm going to add a layer mask. That makes my background transparent. So I'm going to come down, add adjustment layer, and I am going to go to solid color. And I'm going to choose white and hit OK. I need to drag that layer underneath my model, and I named that layer model. I did that earlier, but I'll do it again for the sake of the tutorial. Okay, so I selected everything. I added the adjustment layer of solid color, and I'm going to drag it under my model. Okay, and I'm going to rename this color fill background. All right, so far so good. I'm going to add a black and white layer As I told you in class, my photo is already black and white, but yours may not be, so I don't want to skip that process. And now I'm going to bring in the other photo. So I'm going to go up to the top, click on that photo. The way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to go to the layers, hit duplicate layer, and where it says destination documents, I'm going to click on that and choose my other photo. If you don't know what it was, I can hit cancel and go check. So I go back and I look at that title and it says Untitled 169 JPEG. So that's what I need to look for when I go to my other one. I click on that, say duplicate layer. In the destination, I click on this and I find that Untitled 169 JPEG and I say okay. And then when I go back to look at that, I sure enough see the background in there, right? I want to put that over the top of my model. It shouldn't have came over. I don't think I had my model layer highlighted, right? So I should have background, model, black and white layer on top of the model, and then my background that's coming in. I'm going to grab my selection tool so I can move this around, and I'm going to transform it. I can go up to edit, free transform, and do it that way, or I can just hit my Alt key and the letter T on your Chromebook. It would be Command T on my Mac. And with my selection tool, I'm just going to hold down my Shift key and drag this over and make it as big as I can, because I'm only going to use the trees mainly in mine. So I'm looking, I can turn this off for a minute and see where my model's at, and I see that I had that trees probably big enough to cover that. I can always make it a little bit bigger just to be on the safe side by holding the shift. And yeah, I'll make it really big so that I mainly have the trees in there. I just click on that check mark and I'm good. Okay, so I got 4 layers now. I want to add a black and white layer to this background. Okay. So I go down, add adjustment layer, look for black and white, and there I go. And I want to I want to clip it to this background layer. Before I do that, my background layer, I wanted to change the blend mode from normal to screen. So I see that. Okay. I added the black and white over that, and I'm good. Now I'm going to add a black and white layer, and I wanted to clip this layer as I told you. So I right click and I say create clipping mask. And that clips that black and white to my background. Okay? Alright. Moving right along. In my black and white, I want to go up to the default preset and say high contrast blue filter and click that. And then as I said, you can move this background photo around in your background by just using your selection tool and dragging it to get what you want to put in there. So if I want those trees on her eyes, you know, your photos will be different, but whatever you choose is up to you. I kind of like those trees in her eyes, like that. So I'm going to keep that there. All right. I have my black and white. I just changed the high contrast blue filter in the preset for that. Now I'm going to add a levels layer on top of this black and white. And I'm also going to clip it to my black and white. So I come down to the half moon, I go to levels, I'm going to right click on that and clip it to my black and white. In those levels, I'm going to drag this left slider over here on this side, just a little bit to the left. And I'm getting rid of that top of her head. You'll see it start disappearing there. And the reason it's doing that is because I clipped these two to the background. I now have the black and white and the levels clipped to there. So it's only affecting that. Okay? Basically, I'm looking at this now, deciding, do I need to do more? Do I need to bring that even more over? And I can. It's up to you. It's a personal choice at this point. I kind of want that top of her head coming off of there, maybe all the way down to right to where it hits her eyes. And that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Okay. So I'm going to add one more levels layer. Okay. I'm going to go down to the half moon, and I'm going to go up to levels, and this time I'm going to choose the middle bar, and I'm going to take it to the right a little bit, and you'll see that it makes her a little bit darker, and that's what I want. Okay. And now I want to go down to this levels layer where you see the mask that's in here. I want to invert that. And what that means is I want to make it black. So the way I do that is I make sure it has the borders around it. I'm going to press the Alt key on yours. It's my command key. And I'm going to press the letter I. And it turns that mask black. So now I want to get a brush and go over her face a little bit in these trees. So I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to go up to my tools panel, go down 1, 2, 3, 4 on mine. It's the brush. And I want to make sure that my fill in my background, or foreground, my background, has the white in the front and the black in the back, I'm sorry. If you have some different colors in right now, you can just set them to default by clicking this small icon beneath that, and that'll set it to its default. Okay, so I'm going to come up to the flow, and I want to change this flow to about 20. And the opacity should be 100. The mode is normal. That's looking up here at the top. Okay, now I'm ready to brush over her. So I'm brushing over these trees to make them a little bit darker in my image. I'm going to come down this side, and I'm probably going to go over her lips a little bit to make that. I'm going to come over these trees right here. And if it's not doing enough for you, you can go up and change this flow a little bit higher by dragging that. And you might see a difference on that. Okay. Kind of liking it. Okay, I'm going to go now to the model layer right here, and I'm going to add a curves adjustment to that. And so I go down to the half moon again, go up to curves, and now I'm going to click this line within that curve square once and twice. And I normally tell you to make that S shape with it, kind of like that, where it's making an S. But I want you to play around. It'll depend on your photos. If you see, I drag this, I'm getting those higher shadows over here on this side. And that's about it. I think I'm done. I'm looking at my right side over here and I see this kind of, I can see where the one photo is laying over there. So I want to get rid of that. So as my final thing, I'm going to go and grab my crop tool and I'm just going to move this over and crop this a little bit. And same with the bottom. I see some of that parking lot and I'm going to check that there. And I'm done with my double exposure. I can go to File, Save As, and get the bouncing Jolly Beach ball that spins until life is over for me. Oh, thank you. I'll rename this. I'll call it Double Exposure. And I'll save it as a PSD and as a JPEG. All right, and that's the lesson.